There is a moment that arrives before almost every failure. Your body is still capable, your goal still matters, and the next step is still possible. But a voice inside your head says, "You have done enough. Take the easier path. You can try again tomorrow." Most people listen to that voice because it sounds reasonable. David Goggins believes it is often lying. His life began far from the image of strength people associate with him today. He grew up around fear, violence, racism, financial hardship, and deep insecurity. He struggled at school, developed unhealthy habits, and eventually reached a point where he was nearly 300 pounds and working a job he hated. Then, one evening, he saw a television program about Navy SEAL training. The men on the screen were cold, exhausted, and suffering. But instead of frightening him, the image exposed something painful. Goggins realized that he had spent years allowing fear and comfort to control his life. He decided to change. What followed was an extreme transformation. He lost more than 100 pounds, became a Navy SEAL, completed Army Ranger School, and later entered some of the world's toughest endurance races. But Can't Hurt Me is not really a book about running, military training, or physical pain. It is about the stories people tell themselves. Stories about who they are, what they deserve, and what they are capable of becoming. The central question of the book is simple. What happens when you stop accepting your own excuses? Most people believe change begins with motivation. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait for Monday. They wait for the new year. They wait for life to become less stressful. But motivation is unreliable. It disappears when you are tired, uncomfortable, or afraid. Goggins argues that lasting change begins with honesty. He describes standing in front of what he calls the accountability mirror. Instead of avoiding his weaknesses, he confronted them directly. He admitted that he was overweight. He admitted that he lacked discipline. He admitted that he was wasting his potential. This was not positive thinking. It was uncomfortable truth. That matters, because you cannot improve a problem you refuse to name. Imagine someone who says they want financial freedom but never checks their spending, or someone who wants better grades but never studies their mistakes, or someone who wants to become healthier but keeps pretending their habits are harmless. Self-deception protects your feelings today, but it steals your future. The accountability mirror is not about hating yourself. It is about separating your identity from your current behavior. You are not permanently lazy. You may have built lazy habits. You are not incapable. You may have avoided difficult work. You are not a failure. You may have failed to act. And behavior can change. The next idea is one of the most famous in the book, the 40% rule. Goggins suggests that when your mind tells you that you are finished, you may have reached only a fraction of your true capacity. The exact number should be treated as a motivational principle, not a scientific measurement. The deeper lesson is that discomfort often arrives before genuine limitation. Think about the last time you tried to exercise. Your breathing became heavier, your muscles started burning, and your brain immediately searched for permission to stop. The same thing happens outside the gym. You try to study, but after 20 minutes, you reach for your phone. You begin a business, but early rejection makes you question the entire idea. You start writing, but the first bad paragraph convinces you that you have no talent. The mind often treats discomfort as evidence that something is wrong, but discomfort can also mean that you are entering unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory is where growth usually happens. This does not mean ignoring serious pain, injury, or exhaustion. It means learning to ask a better question. Instead of saying, "I feel uncomfortable, so I should stop," ask, "Am I truly unable to continue, or do I simply want relief?" That question creates a small space between feeling and action. Inside that space, discipline becomes possible. Goggins calls this process callousing the mind. A physical callus forms when skin repeatedly experiences friction. At first, the pressure hurts. Over time, the skin adapts. The mind can respond to difficulty in a similar way. Every time you do something uncomfortable on purpose, You teach yourself that discomfort is survivable. Wake up when the alarm rings. Finish the final 10 minutes of work. Make the phone call you have been avoiding. Admit when you are wrong. Return to the task after failing. None of these actions looks impressive, but each one creates evidence that you can act without waiting to feel ready. And that evidence builds real confidence. Many people misunderstand confidence. They believe confident people act because they are certain they will succeed. Usually, the opposite is true. People become confident after repeatedly acting while uncertain. Confidence is not created by telling yourself that you are powerful. It is created by keeping promises to yourself. Every broken promise weakens your trust. Every completed promise strengthens it. This is why a small disciplined action can matter more than a dramatic goal. Running 1 mile as planned may build more confidence than announcing that you will run a marathon someday. Another powerful idea in the book is the cookie jar. Goggins mentally collects memories of challenges he has already survived. When a new situation becomes difficult, he reaches back into that collection. He remembers previous pain, previous fear, previous moments when he wanted to quit but continued. These memories become proof. Most people do the opposite. During difficult moments, they remember every failure. They replay embarrassment. They imagine the worst possible result. They use the past as evidence that they cannot succeed. The cookie jar turns the past into fuel. You can build your own version today. Write down 5 moments when you did something difficult. Perhaps you passed an exam you thought you would fail. Recovered from a painful breakup. Helped your family through a crisis. Completed a project under pressure, or simply survived a period when life felt impossible. These experiences do not guarantee future success, but they remind you that your current emotion is not the complete truth. You have felt weak before and still continued. There is also a harder lesson in Goggins' story. Your suffering can become part of your strength, but only when you stop using it as permission to remain stuck. This idea must be handled carefully. People do not choose childhood abuse, discrimination, illness, or poverty, and acknowledging trauma is not the same as making excuses. Some problems require support, therapy, medical care, or meaningful changes in your environment. But Goggins challenges the belief that a painful past must permanently control your future. You may not be responsible for everything that happened to you, but at some point, you become responsible for what you do next. That is not always fair, but it is powerful, because responsibility gives you something blame never can, a direction. Still, Can't Hurt Me has an important limitation. Goggins' extreme approach can make relentless suffering appear necessary for growth. It is not. He pushed through serious injuries and repeatedly tested his body beyond what most people should attempt. That makes his story extraordinary, but not always safe to copy. Sleep, recovery, and rest are essential for physical performance, mental function, and long-term health. Research also shows that insufficient recovery can reduce performance and contribute to overtraining. Mental toughness does not mean treating your body like an enemy. There is a difference between discomfort and damage, between discipline and obsession, between taking a needed rest and avoiding effort. The wisest version of Goggins' philosophy is not destroy yourself to prove you are strong. It is stop using ordinary discomfort as an excuse to remain weak. Push when fear is controlling you. Rest when recovery will help you return stronger. Knowing the difference is part of maturity. So how can you apply this book without running an ultra-marathon or joining the military? For the next 7 days, choose one uncomfortable action that improves your life. Keep it simple. Wake up when your alarm rings. Exercise for 20 minutes. Read 10 pages. Study without your phone nearby. Track every expense. Finish one task before opening social media. Then do it every day, especially when you do not feel motivated. Do not aim to transform your whole life in 1 week. Aim to collect evidence. Evidence that your feelings do not have to control your behavior. Evidence that discomfort is temporary Evidence that you can trust yourself. By the end of the week, the action may still feel difficult, but you will no longer be the same person facing it. The greatest lesson from Can't Hurt Me is not that pain makes you special. It is that comfort can quietly become a prison. The walls of that prison are built from small excuses. I'm too tired. I'm not ready. I'm not naturally disciplined. I'll begin when life becomes easier, but life may never become perfectly easy. The right moment may never arrive, and confidence may never appear before action. So the next time your mind tells you to quit, pause, do not immediately believe it. Ask yourself, is this my real limit? Or is this simply the point where growth becomes uncomfortable? You do not need to become David Goggins. You only need to stop becoming a weaker version of yourself every time life asks for effort. Your mind may ask for comfort. Your fear may ask for escape. Your habits may ask you to remain the same, but the final decision still belongs to you. And sometimes, one more step is enough to prove that the person you thought you were was never your limit.